How's it going, folks? I've just this very second finished downloading the brand new Virtual Mix Rack update, and I want to take a look at it with you guys, to have a first look and see what's new. Kind of seen some of the promo stuff, so I know-ish what to expect, but there's a few bits here that I personally think are really, really interesting, and it's worth diving into, so let's go. All right, so the first thing that kind of catches your eye is this little puppy here, and this is like some new presets, essentially. I'm not going to delve too much into this because presets are presets, you know, they're just kind of built up from some people they got to do stuff. But they're kind of quite nicely laid out, I guess. So you've got the categories, bundle, you can go into some specific bundle stuff, like Strong Room is obviously going to have the mics on it. You can go into who has specifically done them for them. You can go into genres, instruments, and then filter by specific modules. So if you know that you want to do something that's like drums, for example, and we know that we want to use, I don't know, we want to use some sort of saturation. So let's go to New York. We can see if there's anything there. So this is going to be all stuff that's relative to drums and New York module. So that's kind of cool. I don't really use a lot of the presets on it because I like to build my own stuff, but it's good to know that it's there, and it seems quite comprehensive. It seems like there's quite a good way of kind of narrowing stuff down so you can be very specific about what genre, what instrument, everything else that you're using. But that's update number 1, which is cool if that's what you're after, if presets are kind of your thing. But there's 2 more things that jump out at you straight away, or jumped out at me straight away. And the first one is something that I've been waiting for a long time in Virtual Mix Rack, and that is side chains on the compressors. Very cool update. I like that. We all know what a sidechain is, and we're going to take a bit more of an in-depth look at that in a moment. The other thing, though, which I think is probably one of the bigger kind of selling points of this, is the macro controls. So those of you who use Ableton will be familiar with macro controls. Those of you who use Logic Pro are probably relatively familiar with macro controls and the smart controls and stuff like that, but this is very cool. Now, macro controls are a way of, how do we put it? We can control lots of the knobs within Virtual Mix Rack by just using one knob. So we can set up a number of the knobs on the different modules within Virtual Mix Rack to be controlled by just this one macro. And it's kind of handy because you can just have one control, which is like, right, when I turn this, I want to change 3 controls on 3 plugins that just give me loads of saturation, or something that turns up the high end, but then simultaneously turns down the mids, or whatever it is. You can map it all out. That's, I think, the thing I want to cover first, because to me, that's the most interesting thing, the most in-depth thing. Then we'll take a look at the side chains and see if we come across anything else along the way. So, macro controls. So first of all, then, for this particular sound, I've got a drum kit on here. So let's take a listen to the drums as it stands. Okay, you know what a drum kit sounds like. So let's go to our distressor and put a little bit of compression on, because it was on 1-to-1, and just see if we can get kind of an overall sound that we sort of like, and then see how those macro controls might be applicable to this. Okay, compression's working for me. Let's do something that's actually kind of useful. So let's go into our modules. I'm actually going to clear this completely because I don't tend to use all those modules at the same time. Here's my kind of standard chain then. So I like to use Virtual Console Channel. I like to have that on the British sound. And then what do we like to have? Well, an EQ is always nice, isn't it? Let's go for an SSL. Then let's have, I don't know, let's go for something crunchy. Well, let's just go for an FG Stress because I like that. And we're going to take a look at this sidechain in a moment, but let's have a look at, I don't know, Saturator after it as well. I quite like that. And I quite like Revival as well, actually, to be honest. So let's say we wanted to increase the gain, but as we increase that gain, we also want to increase the overall shimmer. So the overall kind of top end on Revival. Well, let's select Input. And let's select shimmer. Now you'll see that that automatically goes to its upright position, which, wasn't expecting that, to be perfectly honest. Let's see what we can do about that. Well, if we go into it and we turn it down, No, that's going to break the link. You see, I don't think they thought of this. All right, so let's go into the macros and see if we can change that. So we can change the limit, presumably. Is that the point at which it starts? No, because then we're not going to be able to turn it up or down at all. Okay, so that's the point at which it's... So if we go to 50%, that's where it's going to start. So if we turn that up... Okay, cool. All right, and so you have to kind of edit it a little bit, because the reason for that is because this one in its default state is 12 o'clock. This one in its default state is all the way down. So that's going to be a consideration for those. Maybe they've built that in some way. I don't know. I've had this open for like 6 minutes. So maybe that's something that we need to look at in a future video. But as I turn the input of this up, I can also make it so the shimmer goes up. So we're essentially adding saturation while simultaneously adding some top end shine. So we can rename this as well. So if we go to macro 1, saturation and shine, sat and shine. Nice. Let's do that. Let's take a listen. And let's link the inputs and outputs so that when this comes up, this automatically comes down. Except it's not. Huh, that's interesting. Okay, so let's go to... We've broken these links by clicking on. That's interesting. So when we actually click these to turn them, it breaks the link. You have to go back to that. Okay, that's worth knowing. So this link IO no longer works. That's interesting. Okay, so maybe we have to then add this and invert that. It will make sense. So that's what we have to do. But should that do that? Should that really just break that link? Because typically when you hit link IO, as you bring the input up, the output comes down automatically. It does now, but we have to set it up in the macro. Weird. All right. Anyway, let's hear it. Okay, cool. I like that. So we can also do some interesting stuff when we go to, say, we'll go to the distressor. Let's set up a second macro. So how do we set up another one? If we want to do just like a second macro, how do we do that? Okay, on this one maybe. There we go. So second macro. Let's say we want to increase the input, but then as we increase the input, we want to lengthen the attack. That's a pretty standard thing to do. So we're giving the compressor some more, so it's going to be compressing more, but we want to lengthen the attack so that as it's going to be compressing more, it's actually letting a little bit more through. That would be a pretty standard thing to do. So let's call this one distressor in attack, whatever. So as I turn this up, we're also turning that up. Okay. The only thing here though is typically I would grab the input control, hold shift, and that would automatically bring the output control down. I can't do that because it's going to break the link. Okay, this break link thing is... Okay, so all we've got to do is select that and then invert that. So it essentially does the same thing. Okay, I can get along with that. That's okay. That's cool. So on the attack, we can make it so that it's maybe a little bit more of a curve. That's a wild curve. Go to there. So as we bring that up, it's not going to go all the way. Okay, let's take a listen to that. Yeah, I think that needs a little bit of finesse, doesn't it? So let's make it so that it can't go all the way to... No, we need to go this way. Can't go all the way to 0. We don't want it to go all the way to 0 because that's going to be much too quick. Okay, cool. And then with that, we can maybe add some saturation as well. So when we bring this up, the saturation is also going to come up. Okay, so initial options for doing that are cool. It seems like if you've been a user of VMR for a long time, you have kind of ways of working, and you know that if you grab the input and hold shift to link the input and output, that always works. And it's going to be kind of hard getting out of that if I intend to use these macros. But I like that. And I like the idea that you can not just link them, but you can inverse link them as well. And you can change the curve, and you can just kind of manipulate them to be what you want them to be. I wonder how it works on automation though. I wonder if you can then automate all the macros as well. Yes, you can. Okay, cool. So you can automate the macros in exactly the same way as you would everything else. That's nice. I like that. Okay, macros aside, we've got a couple more things we need to look at here, because each module has its own output gain. Okay, why have they done that? So if you've got output gain for each individual module, it's handy because not all of them have them. I get that as a kind of hold on, I'm going to say that phrase again, gain staging kind of thing. It's useful because if you've, for example, boosted a load of EQ on this one here, and you don't want to hit the compressor quite as hot, then you can just bring that output gain down. Okay, so that kind of works. I like that. It's a little bit of a utility thing, but that does a job for me. That's cool. I'm just looking through. They've not like snuck in any extra modules just that I don't know about. I'm pretty sure they haven't. The last one that came out, was it the Pultec, or was there anything else that came in here? No, I haven't got any of those. What kind of things that I have I? It's letting me use those now. Don't know why it's letting me use those. It just is. Okay, have I uncovered a flaw in this? Oh no, license not found. That's weird. It's letting me drag. It never used to let me drag them in. It always used to say this, but now I can bring them in, and just now it's not working. That one's still working though. Weird. That's not found. Okay, now it's caught up with it. Okay, so for a brief moment there, I had the mic locker. Oh well, whatever. No, I don't think they've snuck anything else new in there. That's fine. They never said they were going to. So the other thing to consider here is the sidechain, because this is something that people have been crying out for a long time, and it seems like you can do it on a module by module basis. Okay, so is it only on the compressors? The reason I asked that is because you can't do dynamic EQing. That would have been cool, but that's fine. That's okay. So we can do it on the compressors. All right then. So let's go onto our bass. Let's bring that in as well. Let's go to our virtual mix rack, and I've already set this up. Look, so we've got external sidechain, and we've got it set up to the kick. So this bass is going to compress whenever the kick is present. Okay, let's do it to the snare as well. But importantly, we can adjust the gain of the sidechain signal coming in. So we can crank that sidechain signal coming in. If on this one, for example, FG Dynamics, I always found that this is, it's exactly what it is on the hardware. So that's fine. That's cool. It's like, it's relevant to the hardware, but I always found this to be a little bit, didn't quite have all the range that I needed. So just to be able to boost the sidechain signal coming into this, it's quite handy. Okay, that makes sense. Internal sidechain, I don't really understand. I guess it's just not. It's just kind of like working internally, and that's kind of like the default place to be, I guess. I don't know. It kind of doesn't make sense to have a sidechain there. Yeah, okay, so it's just saying that it's being fed by what's happening inside as opposed to what's external. It seems to me like the internal is kind of turning the sidechain off, or the typical kind of view of a sidechain is that it's being fed by something else. But if it's the internal, then it's just being fed kind of by itself. That's fine. I'm assuming all the compressors have a sidechain. Yes, they do. Does the gate have a sidechain? The gate has a sidechain. That's interesting. I like gates with sidechains. I don't like gates, but I like gates when they have sidechains. Actually, that's a lie. I like this gate. This is one of the only 2 gates I like. A lot of the other ones I'm just not a fan, but I'm not going to tell you what the second one is, just to keep you guessing. But yeah, I like gate sidechains in general because they're kind of useful. You can make it so you're opening stuff up when it's just when one thing's present. So for example, let's turn this off for a minute. Let's go to the room mic and let's go to virtual mix rack. And let's say we only want to open the gate on this. Let's trash all this. We only want to open the gate on this room mic when external gate, when the snare is coming through. So we only want to hear that snare. So let's hear that. That's not working very well. Okay. What am I doing wrong here? I've lost all my sound. Okay, for some reason, when I solo that... What? So that's without the gate on and without any of the sidechain stuff. And then when I bring it on, it's only coming into play. The room mic's only coming into play when the snare is triggering it through the external sidechain. I like that, to be able to sidechain gates as well is really handy. Transient Shaper, has that got the sidechain on it? It has. Amazing. So we can... Oh, that's interesting. So we can sidechain the Transient Shaper. So we can make it so that something gets really transienty when there's like another input to it. That's cool. Or less transienty, more sustainy. So I'm guessing anything in this kind of dynamics region is going to do that. That's cool. Nothing else though. Nothing else is going to have it. No, this is a cool plugin by the way. Nothing else is going to have it. Trimmer, why would that need it? Actually, no, it won't have it, will it? Definitely won't, no. That could have been like a good way of kind of bringing something down, not with a compressor, just with gain. Stupid idea, Sam. Preamps, I'm guessing these haven't got it. No. So we've got sidechains on all the kind of dynamic stuff, everything in this category, basically. I would have maybe liked to have seen it on the EQs, but having said that, they have just released the new Slate Digital, what is it, the EQ thing. Infinity EQ, is that it? Sure, that's it. Infinity EQ, where it's actually got the dynamic bands in it now, which people have been asking for 4 million years, and they finally got it. So, is it D? I haven't even opened this. Dynamic bands, yeah, okay, cool. You can see how much I use this EQ. I can't even use it. I was going to do a video on it when I got it, and then I was like, actually, I don't have time to mess around with the new one, and everything else I've got works already. It's a stupid thing, isn't it, about new plugins coming out? You think that they're going to be absolutely amazing. You think it's going to change everything. Then you open them once, and then you think, actually, what I already use is quite good. But back to VMR, I think it's a decent update. I genuinely do. I think that they need to... Okay, here's my thing with Slate Digital. I loved Slate Digital for absolutely ages. I've been using everything in the Everything bundle since it first came out, and it's great. I feel like over the last X amount of years, there's been a little bit of a movement away from what they started off doing. So if you take a look at all their plugins, right? So we've got... Where's Slate Digital? There it is. So first of all, we had like all the virtual mix rack, love. Virtual tape machine, love. These compressors, love. FGX, love. FGX2, love. Not quite as much the first one, but that's just me being an idiot. MOTT, to me, was cool, but it was the start of then Murder Melodies, Storch Filter, Submerge, Heatwave, Infinity Bass, all that kind of stuff, which, whether you like it or not, is directed at a specific market. And it's okay. It's cool. And in fact, I used Infinity Bass on this track, actually. I used it on the on the floor tom, because the floor tom sounded like garbage without it. And it's just got loads of low end, which you can't hear on your phone, but whatever. So it is cool for certain scenarios, but it's felt like for a little while they're moving in a very specific direction, and that's okay. I just personally wish that there were more plugins that maybe didn't, even if they did the same thing, but didn't look like they were aimed at that one specific market. That would maybe make me a little bit easier. But who knows? But Virtual Mix Rack, is it 3.0, 4.0? Don't know. The new one, whatever it is. Macros, cool. Sidechains, very cool, very handy, very, very good. Going to be meaning that the whole thing is a lot easier to kind of use. Presets, yeah, okay. We had a load of presets. They kind of changed the way I've done presets over the years anyway, because they went from just having normal presets in here, and then you had like this whole thing where you could just click on there and then build your own, which I used to do but don't anymore. And yeah, I've been able to search through stuff. I think this is going to be great for the beginner market, and that's absolutely fine. The beginner market is where we all started, and that's absolutely cool. A lot of love for the beginner market. For me, it's not as useful because if I'm opening up a plugin, I know what I'm going for. I know what sound it is that I want, and that's why I'm opening that plugin. Virtual Mix Rack has always been a utility thing for me. It's always been like I can get something that sounds good on any instrument within this Virtual Mix Rack. And yeah, macros are going to make things maybe a little bit more creative. Maybe if you've got a controller, something hardware that you can just like turn one knob and it's going to turn 11 million knobs on Virtual Mix Rack. That'll be cool. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're using it. Let me know what your favorite feature is. And I'll see you again soon. Take care.